My sister-in-law, Sarah, had a difficult pregnancy. The baby was in a breech position, which was dangerous. My mother, Grace, was ecstatic, declaring, "This child will be born sitting like a lotus, a blessing from the Bodhisattva Guanyin." I kindly advised them that a breech birth carried a very high risk of complications and that the baby's position needed to be adjusted promptly. But Father Robert cursed me, calling me a crow-mouthed jinx who only spoke ill omens and kicked me, sending me tumbling. Since communication was useless, I waited until Sarah was fast asleep, then secretly used moxibustion on her Xian acupoint, having learned how to rotate a baby's position. When Sarah woke up, she slapped me, accusing me of being jealous that she could bear a son. She called Frederick, who then whipped me furiously with his belt. Together, they and my parents locked me in the pigsty to teach me a lesson. They cut off my water and food, forcing me to kowtow 10,000 times for the unborn child to atone for my supposed sins. Sarah suddenly went into premature labor. The entire family rushed her to the hospital. I was forgotten in the pigsty, starving to death. When I opened my eyes again, my mother, Grace, was excitedly exclaiming, "My grandson is the golden boy beside Bodhisattva Guanyin." I offered a smile. "Congratulations, mother, on your golden grandson." "Oh, my precious golden grandson is surely the reincarnation of the golden boy beside Bodhisattva Guanyin," Grace shrieked, thrilled. I involuntarily followed her joyful gaze. I stared blankly at her, my hand clutching the ultrasound report. On that paper, the 4 words "breech presentation" were starkly visible. Suddenly, a forceful slap landed on my face. Mother knitted her brows and urged, "Lynn, what are you spacing out for? Hurry up and scoop out some stewed old hen for your sister-in-law to eat." I came back to my senses, looking at the chicken soup bubbling on the stove, and suddenly realized that I had been reborn. Suppressing the agitation in my heart, I quickly offered a congratulatory smile. "Congratulations, mother, on your golden grandson." Only then did mother relax her brows, grasping Sarah's hand and praising her. "Sarah, you are the great hero of our family. Save all the delicious food for her." Sarah gently stroked her belly, giving me a smug glance. I quickly nodded. "Yes, I'll quickly go to the kitchen and scoop the soup." My family still used a wood stove, and scooping soup from a heavy iron pot was quite a chore. Outside, mother was still nagging and cursing me for being useless. But when she saw the ultrasound report in her hand, she immediately became excited again. "Once my golden grandchild is born, our family will surely be flooded with money." I placed the bowl of chicken soup next to Sarah's hand, and as I was about to turn, a kick sent me sprawling to the ground. "This useless brat is such an eyesore. Ever since you were born, I've done nothing but lose money." My father, Robert, had returned at some point, likely having lost at gambling again, and was now venting his anger on me. Mother and Sarah stood by indifferently, watching him punch and kick me. Sarah's eyes showed contempt as she looked at me, kneeling on the ground begging for mercy, with a disgusted expression. After he had finished his fit of rage, Mother took the ultrasound report and handed it to him. "Old man, look, our grandson is the reincarnation of the golden boy." Father took the paper, immediately bursting into laughter, the wrinkles on his face scrunching into a big chrysanthemum. "Ha, my Lin family's lineage is truly excellent. This golden grandson will surely be the lucky star of the Lin family." After saying that, he looked at me with dissatisfaction again. "Lin, what are you still doing lying on the ground? Hurry up and cook dinner. Do you want to starve me to death?" In the past, I would have certainly scrambled to my feet and gone to work. But now I deliberately rose slowly, because no matter what I did, they would never be satisfied. And my brother, Frederick, even though he was over 30, spent every day lounging at home doing nothing, yet my parents still doted on him. Frederick stretched, walked out of his room, plopped down on the stone bench, and picked up his phone to play games. My mother, Grace, dotingly broke off a large chicken leg for him. "Frederick, eat this chicken leg to line your stomach. It's all that clumsy, slow-as-death Lynn's fault. Don't let my precious son starve." But Frederick not only showed no gratitude, he even kicked Mother's leg. "Can't you see I'm playing games? How am I supposed to hold it? Can't you feed it to me?" Mother, far from being angry, grinned and fed the chicken leg into his mouth. Yes, Mother is so silly. This chicken leg is so plump. Take a bite, my dear." Frederick crossed his legs, his eyes glued to his phone screen. My mother, like a servant, stood bent over, waiting on him. Watching this scene, not a shred of sadness remained in my heart, nor did I feel the urge to kindly advise them as I did in my previous life. In this life, if they were so foolish and ignorant, then let them bear the consequences themselves. Dinner was laid on the table. I instinctively retreated to the kitchen, squatting by the door, chewing on a cold, steamed bun. The aroma of chicken soup continuously wafted into my nostrils. I unconsciously looked up at Mother, who was meticulously serving food to Father, my brother, and Sarah. Originally, in this house, neither Sarah nor I had the right to sit at the dining table, but now that Sarah was carrying a divine child, her status had changed. I was so engrossed in watching that I spaced out, and Sarah, sitting opposite me, noticed. She immediately glared at me fiercely. "You damned brat, do you want some meat?" "Look, you're practically drooling all over the floor." Hearing this, Mother looked at me with displeasure. "Let me tell you, this old hen is stewed for my golden grandchild. Wipe your drool, don't be so greedy." Sarah even maliciously picked up a piece of chicken butt and dangled it in front of me. "This is the essence of the old hen. Do you want some?" Mother quickly snatched the piece of chicken butt away. She snapped, "Don't give it to her. The chicken butt is for me." Sarah chuckled, shrugged at me, then put a piece of braised pork into her mouth, her face full of triumph. They no longer paid attention to me, eagerly slurping soup and eating meat. In this house, I was merely a superfluous existence. In my previous life, they found me an eyesore. They beat me until my head bled, yet still felt it wasn't enough. They even forced my head into a bucket of laundry water, making me drink the foul, dirty liquid. "Lynn, do you think knowing a few words makes you so great? What's this talk about a difficult pregnancy? I think you just don't want my Lynn family to prosper. You bitch, daring to harm my son, the divine golden boy who descended to earth, I'll teach you a lesson." My brother Frederick hurled vile curses while calling for my parents to help him, pouring an entire bucket of filthy water into my mouth. I continuously gagged and vomited, but they clamped my mouth shut, forcing me to swallow. Sarah stood by, suggesting, "Husband, why don't we make her kowtow 10,000 times for our son to atone for her sins?" I choked on the dirty water, coughing incessantly, my breathing becoming labored. Frederick pressed down on my neck, repeatedly slamming my head against the ground. When I finally lost consciousness, they dragged me into the pigsty and locked the iron door. Sarah suddenly screamed in pain. It turned out she was having a premature birth. The three of them frantically carried Sarah to the hospital, leaving me, writhing in agony, alone in the pigsty. They were gone for several days, quickly forgetting that there was a dying girl like me at home. The pigs and I were both starving, but I was injured and couldn't move. How could I contend with these fat pigs? A pig's snout nudged my face, and the excruciating pain of being gnawed alive made me scream. But very quickly, I no longer felt that pain. I was dead in that foul pigsty. A few days later, my parents returned home, only to discover that I was no longer intact. I was dead, but my parents' faces showed not a hint of sorrow. "Just a brat, so what if she's dead?" Father glanced at me and turned back into the house. Mother nodded in agreement. "Indeed, but a funeral costs money. It's a complete waste. Just dig a hole and bury her. Why bother with a ceremony?" Frederick carried his son into the house. "All our family's money must be left for my son. Not a single penny should be wasted." In their eyes, I was worse than an animal. If that was the case, why should I care about their lives or deaths anymore? Time passed quickly. Before long, Sarah's belly was over 9 months pregnant. Since the doctor had advised her to use an abdominal binder to adjust the baby's position, she stopped going to the hospital, constantly saying that the doctor was jealous of her for giving birth to a divine child. My mother, Grace, was uncharacteristically generous, buying old hens every day and making me stew them for Sarah to drink. Sarah, who had never been treated so well since coming to our house, became quite arrogant. With each bowl of rich chicken soup she drank, her belly grew larger and she became heavier. Until one early morning, Sarah suddenly screamed in pain, "Help, my stomach hurts so much, I'm about to give birth." I lay on the wooden bed in the storage room, covering my ears, pretending not to hear. Father Robert's thunderous snoring and Frederick's game gunshots quickly drowned out her cries for help. Sarah's voice gradually weakened. I heard Frederick shout loudly, "Run, the safe zone is closing in, save me, save me." He didn't even care about his own wife, so why should I worry? I pulled the patchwork blanket over my head, isolating myself from all the noise in the house. It wasn't until an hour later that Mother Grace, passing by Frederick's room on her way to the bathroom, let out a shriek that drowned out the noise of both father and son. "Frederick, wake up, your wife's water broke." "So what if her water broke? Go give birth then. I'm not a doctor, why are you telling me?" Frederick snapped, pushing both Mother and Sarah out, then slamming the door shut. Mother immediately stormed into my room, yanked off my blanket, and yelled, "Lynn, are you a pig? Didn't you hear your sister-in-law screaming?" She twisted my ear, venting all her anger on me. Mother, I'm sorry, I was sleeping too soundly. I pretended to have just woken up, rubbing my eyes. Mother slapped the back of my neck. Hurry up and help take your sister-in-law to the hospital. I immediately got up and with her, used a cart to take Sarah to the hospital. Father was still snoring like thunder, and Frederick was still engrossed in his game. In our remote countryside, the hospital, Mother mentioned, was just a small medical station. When we arrived, Sarah was breathing more out than in. The old doctor merely glanced at her, then waved his hand, telling us to quickly take her to the district hospital. It took an hour's drive from the village to the district. My mother had never had good relations in the village, so it took much pleading with various neighbors to find someone willing to drive us to the district hospital. The district doctor, upon seeing Sarah, immediately shouted, "Her water broke, the baby is at risk of oxygen deprivation. We need surgery immediately." My mother, Grace, hearing this, immediately panicked. "Doctor, you must save my golden grandson. You must save the baby first." The nurses and doctors nearby all frowned at her words. Mother, however, was oblivious. She only cared whether her golden grandchild could be born safely. The operating room light remained on. I sat calmly on a nearby chair while Mother paced anxiously. The moment the light went off, she rushed towards the doctor. "Doctor, has my golden grandson been safely delivered?" The doctor frowned, a little displeased with her indifference toward the mother, but still answered patiently, "I'm sorry, the mother had a breech presentation, and the umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck twice. It was a stillbirth. Furthermore, the mother is hemorrhaging and urgently needs a hysterectomy. We need the family's consent for the surgery." My brother, Frederick, rushed over, and just as he heard the need for a signature, he hastily reached out to sign. But Mother snatched the pen, loudly wailing, "You cannot cut her uterus. If you cut it, my Lynn family will have no heir. Who dares to sign? I'll jump from that window." Mother ran to the window, glaring fiercely at everyone. "Mother, stop making a scene. If she doesn't get surgery quickly, your wife will die." Frederick tried to intervene, but Mother, trembling, sat on the windowsill. "I'm not kidding, you are not to sign." Seeing Mother's agitation, the nurses and doctors quickly pulled Frederick back, fearing he might provoke her further. Just as the two were arguing, a young nurse, her hands covered in blood, rushed over. "Doctor, it's not good. The patient has passed away due to complications." My mother, who had been crying and wailing, suddenly fell silent. Her eyes widened in disbelief, and she tumbled from the windowsill. Before we could catch her, she scrambled to her feet, lunged at the doctor, her insane demeanor terrifying everyone. Bystanders quickly moved away. The doctor explained helplessly, "If you hadn't wasted time just now, the patient wouldn't have died." But Mother wouldn't stop, continuing to wail, "Oh, my golden grandchild, why did you leave us? It's all your mother's fault, that useless woman." "If she wasn't so useless, why would you die?" I rushed forward to stop her. The nurses quickly called for security. Very soon, we were all politely asked to leave. Mother sat wailing loudly outside the hospital. Frederick, feeling ashamed, quickly shoved her into the car. We brought Sarah's and the infant's bodies home. My father, Robert, finally woke up and was feeding the pigs in the yard. Frederick was snoring in his room. Seeing Sarah's cold, lifeless body, Father was so startled he dropped the bucket of pig feed. "How did this happen? Where's my golden grandchild?" My mother, Grace, took out a small box, opened it, and inside was a lifeless baby boy. Father held the small box and wailed, "Oh, my precious golden grandson." I knew he wasn't crying for this innocent little life, but for the life of wealth and prosperity that had not yet reached his grasp. Such a commotion quickly woke Frederick. He rubbed his eyes and came out to the yard. Seeing Sarah's and the infant's bodies, he stifled a tear and advised, "Father, why are you crying? Your son's lineage is still here. Marry another wife and she'll still bear you a golden grandson, a divine child descended to earth." My parents were stunned into silence by his words, stopping their crying. "Our son is right. Let's find a new wife for him quickly." Hearing his parents' promise, Frederick contentedly went back to sleep. Sarah and the infant were buried hastily. The funeral at home wasn't even over, and Frederick had already set his sights on a new target, our village belle, Diana. "Diana has a plump chest and rounded hips. You can tell she's fertile. She'll definitely give you a golden grandson next year, Mother." My mother was moved by his words, but when she counted the family's savings, she hesitated. "Foolish son, it's not that Mother doesn't want to help you. That girl, Diana, has very high demands. She wants 180,000 in betrothal gifts. Where are we going to get that kind of money?" Hearing Mother say this, Frederick immediately refused. "I don't care, I have to marry her." He had been spoiled since childhood. He didn't care if his parents were struggling or not. My mother sighed worriedly, glancing at me as I washed rice by the door. Her eyes suddenly lit up. I immediately flinched, realizing Mother had plans for me. I rubbed my arms, goosebumps rising. If that was the case, then don't blame me for being cruel. I was only protecting myself. That day was Saturday. Both my parents had gone to work at the construction site, instructing me to clean the house. Frederick sat cross-legged, playing games while overseeing me. I pretended to accidentally drop a stack of documents from the nightstand. It happened to fall right onto his phone screen. He frowned, raising his hand to slap me. What kind of work is this? But the slap never landed. His gaze was fixed on the documents. His eyes lit up, then brightened further. Seeing the 2 words compensation, his eyes shone. Seeing the 3 words 1 million, his eyes lit up once more. He was so excited that his hands trembled, yet he gently placed the documents back on the nightstand, kicked me, and snapped, "Be careful with your work, don't break anything." I knew he had taken the bait. That amount of money was enough for him to marry a village belle. That evening, when my parents returned home, Frederick was especially attentive, inviting Father to drink wine. "Father, you've worked so hard. This mulberry wine has been fermenting for a year, and I still haven't had the heart to drink it. Tonight, let's both have a taste." My parents suspected nothing, even thinking their son had enlightened and learned filial piety. With each cup of mulberry wine he drank, Father's face didn't turn red but grew increasingly pale. Finally, he collapsed to the ground, breathless. My mother, Grace, rushed to him in fear, shaking him vigorously. "Old man, what's wrong?" "Don't scare me." Frederick pulled her up and slapped her. "Stop yelling. Father died because he was tired from work today. Do you hear me?" Mother was stunned, staring blankly at Frederick as if she didn't understand what he was saying. "If you don't want me to go to jail, shut your mouth and take care of Father's funeral." My mother covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face, but dared not say another word. After warning Mother, Frederick turned his fierce gaze on me. "You too, keep your mouth shut or you'll regret it." I nodded fearfully, assuring him that I would definitely not speak carelessly. Only then did Frederick rush into my parents' room, stuffing the insurance papers into his pocket, his face beaming with joy. Just like that, barely a week after Sarah's passing, our family set up another mourning hall. But Frederick completely ignored all of this. The next day, he unhesitatingly took the contract to the insurance company to demand compensation. My father worked at a construction site. He valued his life and had long ago purchased life insurance for himself, with his primary beneficiary being my brother, Frederick Lynn. Mother was not fortunate enough to be a beneficiary. As a daughter, I also had no eligibility. However, Father had never told Frederick about this. I only accidentally discovered this insurance contract while cleaning the room. I believe my father, even in the afterlife, would not rest in peace. The son he loved so dearly had personally taken his life. Father's body had already been cremated. Even if the insurance company requested verification of the cause of death, there was no way to do so. Frederick, on the other hand, was a scoundrel. If the insurance company didn't pay, he would cause trouble at their office every day. In the end, the insurance company had no choice but to compensate Frederick 1 million yuan as per the contract. After receiving the compensation, Frederick couldn't wait any longer and immediately ran to Diana's house to propose. Disregarding Mother's objections, he generously offered Diana 200,000 yuan as a betrothal gift. Just like that, I had a new sister-in-law. Diana was completely different from the previous one. She was beautiful, loved to show off, but never touched housework. My mother, used to having her daughters-in-law work, naturally didn't like Diana, but Frederick and Diana were soulmates. With a wife, he forgot his mother, so he didn't help Mother speak up anymore. Until the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law had another big fight, Diana cried and demanded to move out. Frederick, feeling sorry for his wife, quickly comforted her. All right, we'll buy a house in the district, so our child will be a city person when they're born." Only then did Diana stop crying, and she coquettishly asked, "Honey, can you add my name to the property deed?" My mother, hearing this, immediately refused. "That money came from my husband's life. By what right should your name be added?" Unfortunately, Diana was cunning. She fell into Frederick's arms, weeping bitterly. "Honey, look, Mother still doesn't consider me family. We're already on the same household registry. How could I harm you?" Hearing this, Frederick indeed became furious. "Mother, you're going too far. Diana is your daughter-in-law. Don't treat her like a thief. Once we buy the house, Diana and I will move to the district. After that, you can stay in the village and won't have to see Diana, whom you dislike." My mother jumped up in anger. "You unfilial son, That money was your father's. You bought a house and I'm not allowed to live in it. Frederick showed no respect, pushing her to the ground. That money was left to me asterisk by father. What does it have to do with you? I am the beneficiary, not you. You stay in the village, be content, or else if you die, I won't even attend your funeral. My mother was pushed to the ground by him, her face contorted in pain, but she dared not scold him anymore, only glaring fiercely at Diana. Diana secretly rejoiced, but outwardly feigned great injustice. Frederick embraced Diana, gently comforting her. Don't be afraid, I'm here, and I won't let mother bully you. My mother watched them being intimate, growing even more enraged inside. You, she trembled, pointing at Frederick, but due to anger and shock, she couldn't form a complete sentence. Finally, her vision went dark and she fainted. Frederick contemptuously glanced at her on the ground, then unhesitatingly kicked her aside, before embracing Diana and leading her inside to enjoy their private world. I went to mother's side, reaching out to check her breathing. What a pity, she was still breathing. Indeed, a 1,000-year scourge is hard to kill. I painstakingly helped her up, brought her inside, and pressed forcefully on her philtrum, trying to wake her. When she regained consciousness, I poured her a glass of hot water and offered it to her. Mother, you're finally awake, drink some water. Opening her eyes and seeing me, Mother was a little disoriented. She suddenly leaned on my shoulder, sobbing uncontrollably. Lynn, it's good that I still have you. Your brother is truly a demon. Mother knows she was wrong. From now on, I will definitely treat you well. If it were before, perhaps I would have been moved by her seemingly sincere repentance. However, after experiencing her coldness and heartlessness, I no longer easily believed in her so-called motherly love. Late affection is cheaper than weeds, and late motherly love is no different. Time flew by. In a blink, a month had passed. That day, Diana suddenly announced that she was pregnant. My mother, Grace, was overjoyed, her mouth unable to close, constantly repeating that her golden grandchild had returned to be reborn. Her attitude did a complete 180-degree turn, ordering me to serve Diana well. Unfortunately, Diana completely refused to listen. She was already a formidable person, and now, relying on her pregnancy, she held even less regard for her mother-in-law. In the countryside, women who lost their husbands often faced difficult lives, and coupled with her unfilial son, my mother couldn't even establish her authority as a mother-in-law. Diana completely dominated her. Previously, all the washing and cooking in the house were done by me, but Diana, to make things difficult for Mother, deliberately demanded that Mother wash clothes and wouldn't let me help. Whenever Mother disobeyed, Diana would pat her belly, threatening to abort the baby. After this happened several times, Frederick always sided with Diana. Mother no longer dared to disobey her. From then on, my mother's life was truly a living hell. She woke up early and stayed up late doing housework, but Diana constantly found fault, complaining that her clothes weren't clean enough or her cooking was terrible. The moment Mother got a moment's rest, Diana would find her an eyesore and order her to massage her back and feet. I did not participate in this silent war between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. The university entrance exam was approaching. I had to seize this sole opportunity to change my fate. Frederick never missed Mother. He had money now. The place he frequented most was the internet cafe. What he enjoyed most was spending money on games. Making my mother unhappy had become Diana's greatest daily pleasure. One day, my mother finally couldn't take it anymore. She fumbled into my room, pulling me, crying bitterly. Lynn, I'm so tired. I really can't endure this life for another day. In the darkness, I sneered, a sarcastic smirk on my face. When you all beat me until my head bled, did you ever consider that I couldn't endure it either? A boundless rage swelled within me, like a volcano about to erupt. But I still forced myself to calm down, telling myself it wasn't the right time, and that I absolutely couldn't let her see my hatred. So I tried to soften my voice and comfort Mother. Mother, just bear with it a little longer. When I pass the university exam, I'll take you away. These words were like a tranquilizer, immediately halting her sobs. My mother was so moved that tears welled up, and she hugged me tightly, saying, Lynn, you're still the good one. I didn't give birth to you in vain. I let her tears soak my shoulder, my heart untouched. After she left, I quickly changed into clean clothes, not wanting any trace of her on me. From that day on, my mother seemed to have rekindled her hope. Although life was still as hard as ever, she no longer complained, occasionally secretly slipping me an egg to nourish myself. She was very optimistic, but I wasn't sure if she could wait until the day I passed my university exams. That night, Frederick went to the internet cafe again, staying out all night, but in Diana's room, I heard men talking. I tiptoed into Mother's room, gently shook her arm, and whispered, "Mother, I think we have a thief." I heard a man's voice in sister-in-law's room. "Brother isn't home, Mother knows that." She hastily scrambled out of bed, rushing towards Diana's room. I followed slowly, but instead of entering Diana's room, I returned to my own, locking the window tightly. Very soon, a fierce argument erupted from over there. "You filthy bitch, how dare you cheat on us behind our backs? Who is the bastard child in your belly, really? Old hag, what nonsense are you spouting? Mark, help me teach this old woman a lesson." Mother's voice at first still held a hint of arrogance and resentment, but very quickly, it shifted from high-pitched to deep. Then came desperate pleas, each word squeezed out from between clenched teeth, full of helplessness and fear. I could imagine her cowering in a corner, hands clutching her head, trying to fend off a rain of punches. Diana's voice was startled, especially clear in the quiet night. "Mark, stop hitting her. If you kill her, it'll be a big problem. Because you dared to call my son a bastard, let's see if I beat you to death." The man's voice was low and brutal. I cowered under my blanket, hands clutching the corner, terrified, covering my mouth, afraid I might make any sound. I squeezed my eyes shut, pretending to be fast asleep, but my heart was like a turbulent sea, filled with 100 anxieties. The next morning, the house was quiet again, as if the commotion of the night before had merely been a dream. Diana's room door was shut tight, no sound and no sign of Mother. Suspicion gnawed at me. I wondered what had become of them. So I grabbed a broom, pretended to sweep the floor, and slowly approached Diana's room, hoping to find some clue. But the ground was so clean, not a speck of dust. If not for the faint bloodstain in the cracks of the tiles, I truly would have believed last night was just a dream. As I focused on examining the ground, a sudden opening of a door sounded behind me. I startled, turning around, only to see Diana emerge with 2 dark circles under her eyes. "What are you doing?" Her gaze was fierce, and combined with those dark circles, she looked like a vengeful demon from hell. I tried to remain calm, offering a smile as I replied, "I'm sweeping the house." Diana eyed me suspiciously from head to toe, then asked, "Did you hear anything last night?" My heart skipped a beat, but outwardly I feigned ignorance. I asked, feigning bewilderment, "Did we have a thief? I usually sleep like the dead, I didn't hear a thing." Then, feigning concern, I added, "Oh, where's Mother? Why isn't she up yet? Maybe she heard something. I'll go ask her." After saying that, I didn't look back but ran towards Mother's room, fearing that if I stayed another second, my pretense would be discovered. Diana slowly followed behind me, her eyes still holding a hint of suspicion. In the room, Mother lay motionless on the bed. "Mother?" I stepped forward to wake her, but my hand met a cold, stiff body. Mother's body had become rigid. "Mother, what's wrong?" I cried, shaking her lifeless body, while secretly observing Diana's reaction from the corner of my eye. I saw her freeze for a moment, then immediately react, rushing to the bed to cry with me. Mother was old, she probably passed away in her sleep. "Lynn, don't cry anymore, let Mother rest in peace." Diana sobbed, comforting me. There were indeed no external injuries on Mother's body. The person who did this must have been an expert, knowing how to inflict internal injuries without leaving a trace. When Frederick returned, what he saw was Mother already dressed in her coffin. He was stunned for a moment, then burst into uncontrollable sobs. After all, she was the mother who had loved him since childhood. I thought he would at least grieve over her death. But I never expected that the day after Mother's burial, he would act as if nothing had happened, still running to the internet cafe every day, staying up all night playing games. The man named Mark came a few more times. Each time, I pretended to be sound asleep, never exposing their illicit relationship. I was eager to see the moment Frederick discovered the truth. When Diana was 4 months pregnant, the couple finally moved into a dilapidated old house in the old school district of the county. I stayed alone in the old house in the countryside, feeling surprisingly at ease. Next, it was my turn to send them a housewarming gift. I took out an old, beat-up phone hidden at the bottom of a broken drawer. This phone was a hand-me-down from my brother. Fortunately, even though it was old, the video recording function still worked. That day after school, I walked several kilometers and handed this phone to the police in town. Inside was crucial evidence regarding Frederick Lynn's poisoning and murder of father, a video I had recorded long ago, just waiting for the right moment to expose his crimes. When the police officers asked me why I hadn't handed over this important evidence sooner, I couldn't help but tremble all over, clutching my hands tightly, bowing my head. Because I was afraid he would come after me too, I said. The interrogating officer fell silent for a moment, wanting to speak, then deciding against it. The female officer beside him had red-rimmed eyes. She quietly took out a pair of half-worn, half-new white canvas shoes and gently placed them at my feet. It was only then that I realized my shoes had developed a large hole at some point, my big toe poking out, stained with dark red blood. She's just a timid girl who has been bullied for a long time. What bad intentions could she possibly have? It took all her courage to come and report the crime. How can we suspect her? My fragile appearance had become my protective shield. The moment I stepped out of the police station, I took a deep breath of the fresh air. A thick layer of clouds in the sky suddenly parted, and a warm, resolute ray of sunlight pierced through, shining on my face, bringing with it a subtle warmth. I let the sunlight caress my cheek. The clouds had dispersed, but the sun was still far away. Yes, the video on the phone became crucial evidence to convict Frederick Lynn. I heard that on the day he was arrested, he was still at the internet cafe, engrossed in his game. When he saw the video, he was speechless, unable to refute it, and finally had no choice but to helplessly admit his crimes. Because father had been intentionally murdered by him, the insurance company naturally refused to pay compensation and demanded Frederick Lynn return the 1 million yuan he had received earlier. However, my brother spent all day doing nothing, completely unable to repay such a huge debt. In the end, the court had to forcibly seize his dilapidated old house, which was valued at 600,000 yuan to settle the debt. Diana and he were married. For the remaining 400,000 yuan, the court demanded Diana share responsibility for the debt. But Diana had already left the province and could not be found for a while. For insurance fraud and intentional homicide, along with multiple other charges, my brother was finally sentenced to life imprisonment. The day he went to prison, I went to see him one last time. The moment he saw me, he lunged at me like a hungry wolf, fangs bared. If the guards hadn't quickly restrained him and pulled him back, I had no doubt he would have shattered the bulletproof glass to strangle me. "Lynn, you dare to come see me? I'm in this mess all because of you, you bitch." Facing his curses, I just looked at him silently, my face expressionless, as if I hadn't heard a word he said. After all, I had heard far worse countless times before. I silently took out a phone from my pocket, gently placed it next to the microphone, and slowly began to speak. "Today, I've come to give you a surprise. Why would you be so kind? Don't pretend to be righteous." He contemptuously raised his middle finger at me, his eyes filled with scorn and disgust. I wasn't angered by his attitude. Instead, I smiled, gently pressing the play button. Immediately, a deep male voice echoed from the phone, repeatedly saying the same sentence. "You dared to call my son a bastard. Let's see if I beat you to death." My brother, hearing this sentence, was first stunned, seemingly not understanding why I was playing him this strange recording. But very quickly, his face turned grim, his eyes revealing a hint of unease. It wasn't until the sentence repeated 3 times that he seemed to break, roaring, "Diana, that bitch. She dared to cuckold me and make me raise another man's child." Seeing his helpless, bellowing form, I satisfyingly stopped the recording, turned around calmly, and walked away. My purpose had been achieved. I didn't want to look at that disgusting face for another second. He had thought that Diana, a fair-skinned, beautiful village belle, would never pay attention to a useless toad like him. It was merely that she saw him as foolish and rich, most suitable to be a scapegoat. I accidentally discovered Diana's affair, but telling mother was my deliberate arrangement. That's how I had the opportunity to record that conversation. But I never expected that those adulterous lovers would be so cruel that they would accidentally beat my mother to death. However, heaven's net is vast, though its meshes are wide, nothing slips through. Even if they fled to the ends of the earth, they ultimately could not escape the punishment of the law. A month later, Diana and her lover were both arrested. Thanks to my accusation, the police revisited every detail of mother's death, and through analysis and comparison of the bloodstains at the scene, they confirmed their crime of manslaughter. However, the story did not end there. One day, after Diana's lover was imprisoned, he and Frederick Lynn had a violent fight in prison. Both ultimately died from their severe injuries. Diana, upon hearing this news, suffered a mental breakdown and unfortunately miscarried. It was all cause and effect, a cycle from which no one could escape. June, bright and full of hope. The bells of the university entrance exam season rang true. As I wished, I was admitted to my dream university. The moment I left this village, I lit a fire and burned down that old house.